Well, remember when I said that the World Junior Championships would be something wonky, something kind of kooky, and sometimes a little bit fun to watch? Well, that's what it was on Monday, guys.
You're Locked On NHL, your daily podcast on the National Hockey League. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Locked On World Junior Championships, a recap of the World Junior Championships daily action here on the Locked On NHL Podcast Network. I am your host, the insider of the insiders, Tyler Kuehl, here to, we thought Sunday's action was good. We thought the Boxing Day action was entertaining. Well, guess what? We decided to double down and have some great games on Monday. We saw an exciting battle between Germany and Czechia. We saw Sweden and Slovakia go toe-to-toe. Matvei Michkov looked absolutely sensational in a win over Swiss. And even a good game between the Finns taking on Austria and Finland. At least, their offense was looking pretty darn good. So we're going to go through all four games, get you kind of set a little bit for their upcoming matchups as well, including some big games coming up on Tuesday here on this edition of Locked On World Juniors. So we're going to do a little bit of a reverse method today. Unlike on Monday's show where we talked about Group B first, well, we're going to talk about Group A to start this one. And the first game of the day, the 2 o'clock game, was Finland and Austria. The Finns coming after a real bit of a close game against Germany in their opener. And it was like, all right, how are they going to play on the second half of a back-to-back against a fresh Austrian team? Well, Finland played okay. They played okay, to say the least. They end up winning 7-1, and it was tough. It was really tough for Austria. They were trying to hang in there, but they just couldn't ever get any momentum going. And you saw the fatigue set in pretty quickly early on. Ville Koivunen scores just a few minutes in. Another feed by who else? Brad Lambert. That's right, the draft-eligible prospect. It was his third assist at the time, and it made it 1-0, and you just saw the fatigue already setting in. And Finland was fresh. I don't know if Finland was just unhappy with the result by the way they played against the Germans, the fact the Germans were able to hang around in that game, the way Samuel Helene had to really save the bacon of Finland and end up scoring what ended up being not the winning goal, but the clinching goal in the 3-1 win. But you know what? They just came out hard. They outshot the Austrians 21-4 in the first period, outshot them 17-2 in the second, 10-3 in the third. Overall, 48-9 were the shots. And I think they played a really good game. I mean, Helene he potted his third goal of the tournament later on in that first period. And I really thought they controlled the game. Now, Austria did make things a little bit interesting after Kasper Simontovo made a nice play, banging the puck in the side of the goal, having to work hard to get free. Austria did get a goal. That was a nice one-time from Martin Urbanek. Beautiful one-timer that beat Jatkola, for the Finns, and it made it interesting at that time. It was 3-1, and I was like, okay, here we go, Austria. They may not get many shots, but as long as they convert, and not too much longer later, Kariala throws one from the point. Kalle Valsanen's just coming across, and it just hits him right in like the midsection. Nothing Sebastian Renishitz could have done on that, and that really deflated any momentum that Austria had in that second period. And the Finns just kept pouring it on from there. Shots, like I said, 15-2 in the second period. We go to the third. Lambert sets up Ville Koivunen for his second of the game. By the way, the beautiful feed in the first one, too, on Koivunen. Beautiful feed from behind the net. Lambert really stepping up. I mean, he kind of went under the radar. And we're going to talk to him tomorrow with talk about him tomorrow with Stephen Ellis. Very gifted player, very dynamic, moves the puck well, isn't afraid to take a second look. And I saw him in the under-18s last year down in Texas, and he seemed like he was trying almost too much, right? Especially because we were in Plano, we were in the smaller rink, so there were no fans. It was just all scouts for the Finnish games. And I mean, he's really good. I'm not going to knock him at all. He looked very comfortable in his shoes so far, at least in the first two games. He did get a goal himself. Renishitz ended up miscuing the puck, and the puck came down to him and just kind of flubbed it, trying to clear it away. Did like the little half. He had the stick on the paddle and tried to scoop it away with the glove. Ends up giving it right to Lambert. Lambert doesn't make any mistake on that. He has himself I believe, was it a 3-point game? Let me make sure on that. Did I get that right? And Lambert Why don't you put him in numerical order, double IHF? Yes, 1 goal and 2 assists. Now that is 5 points in the first 2 games for Brad Lambert. Looking really good. I'm not going to go as far to say, MVP of the team so far, but boy, he's looked good. Yoel Mata picks up a couple assists. I mentioned Koivunen. He had 2 goals and an assist as well. I mentioned Helene scoring his second of the tournament. Also, Topi Niemela, one of the best high-end prospects for the Toronto Maple Leafs, the defenseman, he got a goal as well. Nice one-timer from the point. It's funny, I actually mentioned because Topi Niemela, Mike DiStefano from Toronto from TSN 1050 and my co-host on Tuesdays on the Locked On NHL show, we were talking about him after the show. He's like, how's my boy Topi looking? And I'm like, I haven't had to say his name too much. And we were recording during the game. We go off air. We kind of part our ways. And a few minutes later, he scores the one timer. I text him like, hey, your boy scored. So good for him. And Finland now 2-0, very comfortable right now. And now you're going to get a little bit of the tougher games, I know, but they do have a day off where they take on Czechia on Thursday. Wednesday. I don't know what my date is anymore. Having the tournament start on a Sunday really ruined things for me. Got me confused. So on Wednesday, they'll be playing Czechia. They're 2-0. And then that, of course, leads to the New Year's Eve clash with Canada on Friday night. So the 2 tough games now coming up for Finland. We're really going to see what they're made out of. It's really hard to tell, of course, to see how Koivunen played. Once again, only had to make 8 saves in this one. Sebastian Ranishets, I feel bad for. He played, he put in made some big saves, but you can only do so much as a goaltender when you really get lit up like that. And you know what? I think Austria, they need to, it's a little bit of a learning lesson. And eventually this is a program, if you continue to get these opportunities at the top level like this, eventually you're going to get some guys that are really step up. So I'm interested to see what they do moving forward. That game against Germany later on will be very interesting to see how they compete. Germany, of course, is marking that on their calendar as the opportunity they can have to find a way to get back in the quarterfinals. So that'll be a much, much important game for the Austrians and the Germans later on in this tournament. We will jump on over to the other game, the Czech game taking on the Germans, speaking of which, here in just a moment's time, guys. But I got to remind you guys about BetOnline. Yes, BetOnline is back with best odds, lines, and more on betonline.ag. Try that again because I don't even remember what the fuck it is. Hold on, baby girl. We will jump on over to the Germany-Czechia game here in just a second, guys. But BetOnline has you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football continues its march through the college bowl season and the pro football playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this season. Head to their website or mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive the bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Do not wait. Take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 21-22 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so let's go now to the second game there from Group A, and that saw the Germans and Czechia going head-to-head. Now, of course, the Germans who fell to Finland in their first game, in a close one, 3-1, and then Czechia end up falling to Canada after a wild start to that game. And this one had a lot going into it because Simon Lakotsi, who started, not Simon Lakotsi, Jan Bednář, I was looking on once again. I do that Czechoslovakian thing, even though I was not around when Czechoslovakia was the thing, where I just combined the two. Jan Bednář ends up getting the start in this one for Czechia, and we end up seeing none other than Florian Bugl get the start for Germany. And this coming after a pretty good start the night before for Germany. I really thought, maybe they were going to go back to back. I thought we saw a pretty good performance from Nikita Quap against Finland. But once again, you want to give your team the best chance to win, even though, Quap may be the better goaltender. So we see Bugl in this one, and Czechia comes out flying. They were hungry. They knew that this was an opportunity for them to get a win, to get a big win, start on the right foot. Well, despite outshooting the Germans 13-6 in the first period, Bugl was sensational. Holy moly, that save on Jan Mysak. I've never see a goaltender. he's not like he plays small time hockey. He plays in Austria, plays in the Austrian Junior League over there for the Red Bull Juniors. You wondered how he would step up in a game like this, in a tournament like this. Obviously, he's got the 6 setup for his goaltending pads, got the German pads, but my, oh my, he really came to shine in the first period. Second period, too, he's helping out his team, making some nice saves early on, and Germany rewarded him. Nice rush coming in a few minutes into the period. Maciej Rutowski drops it off for Alexander Blank. Blank's sitting there wide open in the slot. Not much Bednash could have done. It did go through the 5-hole, though. It made it 1-0. The Czechs, though, would bounce back a little bit later on the power play. Jan Mysak, who got robbed in the first period, gets a little bit of puck luck here. Tries to center a pass. It goes off of Arkadiusz Ziembor. I hope I said his first name right. Goes off his foot, ties the game. And that was part of a second period while there was not there was great chances on both sides. I wouldn't say any stellar saves, too many stellar saves by both goaltenders, but the shots were 19-16 in that second period, 19 in favor of that being of the Czechs. And once again, Bugl, solid. We go to the third period and nothing, man. It was tight. You could tell neither team wanted to give up too much. I believe shots were only 9-9. Like each team's like, you know what? We need a point here. We all want to go to the quarterfinals. Let's just play calm hockey. Let's not give anything up. So we go to overtime. Overtime between the Czechs and the Germans. And it just seemed like you wondered who was gonna kind of falter in this. Because obviously both teams wanted to get a win in not regulation, but in overtime, because you get a full 2 points and whatnot. So Alexander Blank picks up the puck in his own zone. And it looks like an innocent looking rush because it was a simple regroup from the Germans in their own end. And he just starts bolting up the left side, just hauls Keister, and Jan Bednash is in his goal. And so I'm trying to describe it here for you, folks. Blank is at about, I'd say maybe a little below the hash marks on the far left wing. Bednash is down in what we call the reverse VH, where your one leg is down flat along the ice and not letting sneak there, but he's like really crouched, really low. And the next thing you know, the entire upper half of the net's open, and Blank's like, scoring chance. Flings it top shelf, off the bar, swing-a-ding-a-ding, ringing off the post. Horn goes off. Germany with the stunning victory over the Czechs, 2-1 the score. Alexander Blank. I tell you, there were some huge moments in this game. And you got to look at Florian Bugl, just the way he was able to stand on his head in this hockey game, make some big saves, especially that first period where the Germans seemed a little flat-footed. He makes, like I said, that huge save on Mysak, the huge save early on in the second period. I really thought that this was the Czechs' game to win the way it started off, but man, he came up big, ends up making 39 saves despite the getting outshot 40-32, did the Germans, and just a great game all around. I thought it was a very fun game to watch, but man, I really thought that this was going to be an opportunity for the Czechs to get a win, and obviously Austria is another thing, but I really thought he had a chance. They had a chance to do something here, but the Germans come up big. Now they have the advantage now, getting that first win and a good sitting well to maybe move on to the quarterfinals. Now let's jump on over here to Group B. This was a very, very odd game between the Russians and the Swiss. Russia, of course, kind of a little bit hot under the collar after losing their first game to Sweden in, I don't say convincing fashion, but losing 6-3 is never fun. They end up finding a way to come out and play pretty well against the Swiss. And, they came out flying. Shots were 13-4 in the first period. Danila Yurov got a lucky could have really done on that. So, I thought he kept this game. We'll kind of give him some love here in just time. Let up in the Zlodiev made a great individual rebound to make it 2-0. And that cut the tone, thinking, all right, Russia's going to have this one in hand. Then Yegor Savikov threw a puck towards the goal. Later, Pavel Tynetnev turns, shoots it, and sneaks through Kevin Pash. I know it was kind of a point-blank chance, but Pash is the kind of goaltender who wants saves like that. He wants to make stops. So I think he really wanted that one back. I thought he could have that one a little bit better. It snuck under that chicken wing. Regardless, it was in Russia. The Swiss end up getting on the board, though, later on the period. Telebiaska sneaks a shot through Yegor Guskov, and kind of similar to what we saw on Sunday, Russian net mining, giving up those little squeakers here and there. and makes it 3-1 going into the second period. So maybe a little bit of seed of doubt planted into the Russian team. And the second period, Russia came out hard again. They came out inspired. They came out playing tough. And I really thought that they were going to just blow the doors off in that second period. They ended up out shooting them 10-5 were only the shots, but they had a lot of great chances. And Kevin Pash just stood on his head. I remember I saw him in the under 18s last year, and they were taking on Sweden and Canada. And of course, if anyone watched a tournament, Belarus had this ridiculous offense in the round robin play. And for some reason, he just found ways, even though the Swiss kind of struggled at some points, he battled and made some good saves in that tournament, really found a way to keep battling, keep fighting. And he, in this game, was no different. Down 2, especially in that second period, he had to make some sensational stops. And we went to the third period only at a 2-goal game. However, Matvei Michkov was able to pot a goal. He potted his third of the tournament, and a tally from the Swiss a little bit later on. Fabian, let's flip my name once again. Gosh almighty, it was Fabian Muttenberger. No, Ritzmann. What the heck? I'm looking at the German roster. It was, yeah. Guys, make sure you plan your notes ahead of time. Fabian Ritzmann is able to pot a goal late. Wasn't enough, though. 4-2 win for Russia. They improve now to 1-1 on the tournament. And very important win there, though, for them, because it's not going to get any easier. They still have, they have an interesting game coming up against Slovakia later this week, and they still have to take on the Americans on New Year's Eve. So getting this win right away is very important, kind of getting one in just to kind of get the juices flowing a little bit. And as we learned, Slovakia is no slouch. So good win for them. Not a bad performance out of Guskov in general. Only end up having 18 shots, 16 saves, 28 saves for Kevin Pash. I say the 4 goals against, and I'm just like, a couple he may want back, but I thought he did his part to keep the Swiss in the game. The Swiss now have a quick turnaround. They have to go ahead and take on the Americans on Tuesday. Tough game for them for sure, because a rested American team. But you know what? I don't know if Kevin Pash goes back to back, but that could be an opportunity for them to try to get a W, or at least compete hard if they can get the goaltending, especially against the Americans who are a little, maybe on a little on edge after the game against Slovakia back on Sunday. So we'll see how that one goes. Now let's wrap things up with the last game of the night. Dare I say one of the most entertaining games I'm going to say, because I know some people are like, well, Tyler, how could you tell? It was only a 2-0 game. Well, it was 2-0 because the Swedes battled hard. Sweden and Slovakia. I was really unsure on how this game was going to play out, because Slovakia put out such a great effort on day one against the Americans. They put out all the stops in the third period. Martin Chromiak looked great, scoring 2 goals in the third period, making it close, only losing 3-2. And boy, you really thought that the Swedes were just going to not blow the doors off, but you know what? They were feeling confident, feeling good after their win against Russia, that they were able to kind of take care of business. Boy, were we wrong. Slovakia had something. Just whether it be some momentum carried over from that third period near comeback against the Americans, but they came out hauling. 13-5 were the shots in the first period. Jesper Wallstedt, who didn't have as much work as I would say in that first game against Russia. The Swedes really outplayed Russia, I would say, in that first game. Had to come up big in this game, and this was an exciting game from the get-go, and Slovakia had control, but it was the Swedes who came out in front. Theodor near Niederbach. Nice feed from William Eklund down low. He one-times it in. 1-0 on the power play. Sweden leads after 1. Second period, 1980s hockey. 32 total shots. 17-15 in favor of Slovakia. Chances on both ends. Big saves being made by Simon Lakotsi, of course, after a great performance to keep Slovakia in that game on Sunday, and a great performance from Wallstedt, making all 17 saves in that second period. Big saves as well. These weren't just simple shots from the point. Like Slovakia, yes, they were throwing up just about everything but the kitchen sink on goal, but Wallstedt had to be sharp, and Lakotsi was doing well. I thought he was looking good, but unfortunately, early on in the period, Albert Schoberg just kind of found a way to just dance right on by Denny Bukala for the Slovaks. Got it on uncontested, beats Lakotsi. It's 2-0 going into the third period. And I'm not saying that I'm like, oh, well, this game's over. Just based on the fact that Slovakia was just ramping up chance after chance that you thought they got a breakthrough somehow. And then Leo Loof gets a 5-10 in the game for a head contact hit, and that really opened things up. First of all, a 5-minute power play for Slovakia. So they send out the same units that end up scoring against the Americans, led by Chromiak and Slavkovsky, and they were looking to get some chances. They got some good looks. Wallstedt made some nice saves. They ended up trying to pull the goaltender. 6-on-4 with about, 6 minutes left. Kind of a gutsy move, but hey, why not try something different here? Try to find a way to get a game-winning goal. Or just get on the board, to get a tying goal, try to lead it up here because on a major power play, you can keep scoring. That's the purpose of it. However, things were made a little interesting when a delayed game was called against the Swedes. So it's now 6-on-3. They pull the goaltender, they call timeout. And I've always been a little apprehensive of a 6-on-3 because there's too many bodies out there. And we saw it a little bit with Slovakia. A lot of block shots by Sweden, but there were a couple block shots by Slovakia. Their guys were getting in their own ways, seems like. And the Swedes were able to kill off both penalties. And after that, it just seemed like, you just dust it off, call it over. Jesper Wallstedt made some nice saves on the penalty kill effort as well. In total, the Slovaks end up having a total of, let me make sure I got my number right, 18 shots on goal in the third period. 18 shots on goal. Couldn't score once. Wallstedt, a 48 save shutout. The Swedes would add another one later on in the game. Daniel Lundman added the capper for the second game in a row. He did the 6th goal for Sweden against Russia. He scores the 3rd goal, 3-0 win. I know I put 2-0 on the board there. I was a little dumb there. We'll call it a live scoring thing because it was 2-0 for the longest time. But man, that's a heartbreaker for Slovakia. Just based, you have 2 regulation losses now after 2, dare I say, pretty solid efforts here. Their schedule, of course, like I said, doesn't get any easier. They take on Russia on Wednesday. They do end with Switzerland, though, on Thursday. I believe that is, it's a must-win game. If Swiss somehow is able, maybe Swiss pulls off an upset here or there, because I believe they have the Americans, and then they play Sweden on New Year's Eve, the game after Slovakia. So that's an important game for the Slovaks. Now, I'm not just going to push off to the side the Russian game. Each team has a day off, and they have time to rest up both Russia and Slovakia. That could be a very exciting game, given how the first 2 games went for Slovakia and obviously how the games went for Russia. And going back over to the Group A side of things, we're going to see Canada and Austria. That's not going to be, once again, an easy one for Austria, given the fact that Canada, well rested after a solid kind of response against the Czechia team that battled hard, but now Czechia, of course, lost. Czechia is going to not have any easier time, as we mentioned, taking on Finland on Wednesday. And the Finns, I think they're feeling pretty good after their win against Austria, I would say. So the Czechs really have to find a way to bounce back. I don't think Jan Bednář sees the net after the game. Even though he looked good, it's a really hard spot for him. But you know what? Sometimes you just have the bad game at the wrong time, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see Jakub Malik the rest of the tournament. So it was certainly an exciting day 2 of action across the World Junior Championships. And with that, I think we should find a way to turn things around here. Let's say goodbye for now. We'll be back tomorrow. I remember how I mentioned Stephen Ellis for today's show. Well, I decided since there was only 2 games tomorrow, we bumped the interview back with him until tomorrow. Talk about some prospects that you got to watch out for from the Hockey News, Stephen Ellis. That'll be on tomorrow's show, as well as the recap of Canada, Austria, and the U.S. and Swiss here on Locked On World Juniors Day 3 recap tomorrow. Be sure to follow us, guys, at Locked On NHL Pods on Twitter. Follow me, the Insider, the Insiders, Tyler Kuehl. You see it right down there below at TJKU29. We will be back tomorrow and the rest of the tournament. We'll also have a guest coming up on Friday as well. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Yeah. It'll be exciting. Thank you very much for watching and listening to this episode of Locked On World Juniors here on the Locked On NHL Podcast Network. I'm Tyler Kuehl saying so long, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.